We're focused on this system sweeping across the country and heading for us. I'm tracking powerful winds that could be damaging, along with heavy rain and an isolated tornado threat. All time out our weekend WRAL weather alert day hour by hour.
And credibility in question. The family of a man killed in a crash last fall say they want answers about the two troopers suspected of lying about the case. Then THC drinks? You heard right, the same ingredient as marijuana. We go in depth on the loophole that makes them legal in North Carolina.
Sunday is a WRAL weather alert day. Get ready for some storms. They're coming. We have two maps that we want you to pay attention to tonight. First is this one you see here. This is the radar, shows that system that's about to hit us right now over the central U.S. Thank you for joining us at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. This is the other map that you need to see, the risk level in our area for Sunday. All the yellow you see here is a level 2 out of 5 risk, and you can see it covers the whole area. Kat Campbell is here to explain what this all means. And Kat, when the storm arrives?
We're not going to see these thunderstorms get here until Sunday. Just a small rain chance tomorrow. But Sunday, I've actually extended the time frame when we could see storms. It's likely to be a pretty long day. And these storms are producing severe weather. In fact, there is a tornado warning at the moment in Missouri. That's the first one I've seen so far. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, an overnight severe weather threat in that region, and then a level 5 out of 5 threat tomorrow in parts of Mississippi and Alabama. This is only the third time that we've ever had a level 5 risk issued a day in advance. So this is really going to be a pretty bad weather situation there. It won't be in the same form when it gets here on Sunday. However, there is still a notable concern for severe storms. Damaging wind, hail, and isolated tornadoes are all possible on Sunday. I went ahead and bumped up the timing. That's new today. 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. is the window when we could see severe storms. Now that the high-res models are in, it's showing it may not just come in one round, and there could be some supercells out ahead of a main line, and that could lead to the risk for hail and tornadoes. I'll show that to you on Futurecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Kat. Brian Schrader here in the WRAL Live Center. I'm watching that line of storms that Kat just mentioned moving through western and central Missouri right now, that one tornado warning. All of those yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings, and they have caused plenty of problems back in the Kansas City area. I'll show you this picture from Blue Springs, Missouri, and you can see where a tree fell on that vehicle. One person taken to the hospital. Working to find out more about their condition. And high winds in the Kansas City area blew this tractor trailer onto its side. So some ferocious winds associated with this storm system. Also in Texas and Oklahoma, they're dealing with blowing dust and wildfires tonight.
Wow. Thank you, Brian. So the family of a Raleigh man killed in a crash after a chase with state troopers, they want some answers. Specifically, they want dash cam video and body cam video from that day back in October. You see, Tyrone Mason's death led to an investigation into 2 state troopers, but the Wake County DA dropped the case. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan reports on the new demands from the Mason family.
2 state troopers who report right here to Troop C are still on administrative leave after a probe by the SBI and the DA that questions their truthfulness and credibility.
I watched my baby born into this world. I never thought that my baby would leave this world before me.
The tears are heavy for Henrietta Mason.
And all that we ask is that everyone come together and get justice for my son, Tyrone Mason.
Justice for Tyrone Mason.
Mason died in what authorities called a single-car accident on Capitol Boulevard in October of 2024. But Tyrone's mother, now the DA, and these prominent civil rights attorneys believe he may have been killed as part of a chase.
The evidence needed to make this case is on the video from the car chase.
District Attorney Lauren Freeman saw the video and she questioned the circumstances of the crash and whether these 2 troopers, Trooper Garrett Macario and his boss, Sergeant Matthew Morrison, told the truth to Raleigh police officers on the scene.
They can make sure that these officers are held to account. They can make sure that these officers are arrested.
What Freeman has done is dismiss charges in every case where Macario or Morrison were charging officers. That's 192 cases, many of them DWIs, some dating back to 2021.
How on earth do you drop 180 cases and we're just supposed to turn a blind eye?
Tyrone Mason's family wants answers, justice, transparency, and accountability.
They would not have dismissed those cases if there were not something on that video.
District Attorney Lauren Freeman says this incident is still under investigation. The family of Tyrone Mason planned to file a civil lawsuit. Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Another major car crash in our area, the plane crash out in Greenville, and why the White House is investigating Duke University. Here are 5 things that you should know right now. A 19-year-old is dead after a crash in Clayton this morning. Witnesses say a truck ran a stoplight on US 70 Business and hit a Nissan that was pulling out of a parking lot. The truck driver appeared in court this afternoon. Records show he was 2 times over the legal blood alcohol limit. The family of the 8-year-old girl who was shot while at a babysitter's house is now suing the babysitter. Investigators say Genesis Dockery was killed by an 11-year-old who was also at the house at the time. The WRAL documentary team spoke with her father, Fawn, and the babysitter after the shooting. Watch Unsafe, North Carolina Kids Dying from Gun Violence now in the WRAL documentary section of WRAL.com. 2 people died in a plane crash in Greenville today. Flight records show the flight was headed for Florida, but crashed shortly after takeoff from the Pitt Greenville Airport. Federal investigators are now looking into what caused the crash. The victims have not yet been identified. Government shutdown averted. In Washington, the Senate passed a Republican stopgap spending measure to keep the government running. The final vote was 54-46, nearly along party lines. A key vote came from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who announced earlier that he would support advancing the GOP bill, putting him at odds with some of his fellow Democrats today. And Duke University is one of more than 50 colleges nationwide under investigation by the Department of Education. This is tied to President Trump's push to end DEI programs. A mix of public and private universities were targeted. We reached out to Duke University about this. We have not yet heard back.
Ashley, all new at 7 o'clock, a judge has denied a motion to dismiss a lawsuit related to the Hedingham mass shooting. The victims of that shooting filed that lawsuit back in October, naming the Homeowners Association, Capitol Special Police, and the parents of the accused shooter, Austin Thompson. In the suit, the plaintiffs said that more could have been done to prevent that shooting. So with the judge's decision today, it looks like that lawsuit will move forward. You'll recall back in October of 2022, police say that Austin Thompson killed 5 people and wounded 2 others. Thompson is set to stand trial early next year.
All right, thank you, Brian. So some of you have noticed a new addition to your local brewery or bottle shop. Entire shelves of these THC-infused drinks. Is this legal? Well, yeah, but how exactly? Let's go in depth after the break.
You know what didn't used to be legal? Office bracket pools. Tonight we go into the WRAL archive and share a story about how folks used to get around the rules.
Tonight, this in-depth is brought to you by a viewer named Jim. He emailed Dan at WRAL.com and said, I recently visited Total Wine and More and noticed THC and Delta 9 beverages. I was surprised to see an entire aisle about 32 feet long dedicated to these products. I believe this deserves more attention. So let's do that. Let's give it some attention, because I believe lots of people are kind of confused about what these products even are. So tonight we're going to boil it down, or in this case, extract it with CO2, dissolve it in heptane, bathe it in sulfuric acid, then stir it under a controlled heat. Let's talk about North Carolina's legal THC. So let's start here. As you know, marijuana is not legal in North Carolina, not medically, not recreationally. Yet, you can see signs outside of businesses advertising THC products. You can buy drinks with THC right in the title. Drinks like Stay Cool, High Spirits, Nano Cannabis, Can High Boy, and Keef Orange Kush. These are titles straight out of Cheech and Chong. For our younger viewers, these are Cheech and Chong. Now, How about Harold and Kumar? Still no? Okay, Snoop and Martha. Whatever, you get the point. But what is the deal? Is this false advertising? Well, no. So then are they breaking the law? Also, no. But how can both be true? Well, because the THC sold here in North Carolina comes from hemp. Let me explain. This is hemp. This is marijuana. They are siblings. This might be a little easier to explain using another plant. So let's use wild cabbage. You see, this plant is the oldest ancestor of some of your favorite veggies: broccoli, kale, collards, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. All of them come from wild cabbage. We have those variations because of selective breeding. While some of those siblings might be bushy like broccoli and others leafy like kale, they all share a common ancestor and common traits. And with hemp and marijuana, one of those traits is THC, specifically delta-9 THC, which is the primary compound that gets you high. Now, marijuana has lots of it. Hemp has very little, but it does exist in both plants. And this is where President Trump comes in. I know, can you believe it? He's in every story. In 2018, President Trump signed the Farm Bill and wanted to give new life to the hemp industry, which can be used for all types of things: clothing and construction and lots of stuff. The bill legalized hemp and all the things inside it, like those trace amounts of THC. And companies, essentially, are using those trace amounts to make products that can get you high. You see, chemists and engineers have figured out a way to extract that delta-9 THC and then add it to lots of products like vapes and chocolates and gummies and drinks. So just to reiterate and to underscore here, the same chemical that gets you high in weed is the same thing that gets you high in a can of Keef. The chemical process that happens in your body is identical, meaning in a state where all forms of marijuana are illegal, this is a bit of a loophole. And well-known local companies are jumping right through it. Bowstring Pizza, Whiskey Kitchen, Trophy Brewing. They all either have drinks in the works or already on the shelves. The co-owner of Trophy Brewing said he has seen the market explode in just the last 6 months.
Even our bottle shop, State of Beer, sells plenty of these types of products, and we were seeing their popularity just skyrocket.
So if they all know about the loophole, and I know about the loophole, and now you know about it too, then you best believe lawmakers know about it. In fact, this week, North Carolina legislators introduced a bill that would do actually a few things. It would raise the age from 18 to 21 to buy these products, oversight and some licensing rules for sellers and distributors, and have quality control for manufacturers, testing for things like heavy metals and pesticides and other toxins. You'll notice, though, there's no call in that legislation to shut down the industry, though, in the state, which isn't really surprising because business is booming. According to the USDA in 2023, North Carolina more than doubled its hemp production from one year to the next. It ranked at the time number 4 in the nation. So there you have it. That's why you see those products on the shelves. But the question does remain, should you have it? Are these products safe to drink or eat? Well, that is kind of tough to answer, again, because there really isn't much regulation. And this kind of makes people nervous. Last week, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, extended his emergency ban on hemp-derived THC. He cites a lack of testing for toxins and heavy metals, the potential for inconsistent THC levels, meaning you might ingest something that actually is way stronger than advertised, and child safety. Now, critics think that he's doing this because he's trying to crush that industry, because he's being lobbied by legal marijuana, which does see hemp as a real threat. And that may be true and it may not be true, but it doesn't mean that those concerns aren't reasonable. I mean, this month, North Carolina Poison Control reported that cases of cannabis exposure in kids has doubled in the past 4 years. And last year, nearly half of those kids were under the age of 13. Now, as far as that specific delta-9 THC compound, well, you can find countless studies on the pros and cons of marijuana's most famous ingredient. But one thing is certainly true. Everyone reacts a bit differently to it. That's why it makes some people anxious and uncomfortable, and it makes other people like fish. So if you do plan to try nano cannabis, stay cool, or keef, here is a bit of advice. Pay attention to that little label on the can that tells you the milligrams of THC and start low. And understand, a can of this will hit you much differently than wine or beer.
One of the challenges with this particular product is the slow uptake it has into the system. You could be 1 or 2 drinks into it before feeling the effects. And being that we're putting this in a seltzer versus a beer that has high caloric value, it's really easy for people to put back 2 real fast and not realize how deep they are into it.
It is important to understand that part of it. There is a delayed effect if you're using these products. So if you were to slug down 2 25-milligram drinks, you could be consuming about as much Delta-9 THC as someone playing Puff Puff Pass with these guys, even if you can buy it at Total Wine. If you have more questions about this one, let me know. Send me an email at dan@WRAL.com. It was Jim's email that led to tonight's segment. Yours could be next. We rely on your feedback and all of the intelligent emails that we get from all of our viewers out there. So please tell me what is on your mind, and we will go in depth.
Jim, thank you for helping Dan teach me something. That was really interesting. Kat, we've got a busy weekend ahead.
Yes, we do. We've got a lot to watch on Sunday. It's likely to be a pretty long day because we could see the storms arrive in a couple of rounds. 10 a.m. through 8 p.m. is our main time frame we're looking at for severe weather potential. Here's when the storms arrive. Between 9 and 11 a.m. for the areas here shaded in dark green. Roxborough, Chapel Hill included in that, as well as Sanford and Southern Pines. For Wake County, as well as Durham and Fayetteville, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 1 to 3 p.m. in the eastern part of our viewing area. That's just when these storms arrive. It's going to be a while before they clear out. Futurecast showing that line of storms in the mountains at around 8 a.m. By 10 a.m., we're just starting to see the leading edge moving into our area. By noon, things really start to ramp up. We could have a couple of isolated cells out ahead of a line, and those could become supercells. By 2 o'clock, a very active radar, high severe weather threat for our area, a level 2 out of 5. We're going to be watching this closely for you through about 8 or 9 o'clock when the eastern part of our area should see that line clear to the east. The wind gusts forecast. It's going to be a pretty blustery day Sunday, even when it is not storming. We've got winds gusting to about 40 to 45 miles per hour. Here's where the storm system is right now. We're seeing a line of robust storms move through Missouri, as well as parts of the Midwest. Even Chicago's under a pretty significant threat for severe weather tonight. But we are going to start to see a line come together at the southern tip of that system tonight, and that's what will impact Alabama and Mississippi tomorrow. Temperatures are in the upper 50s to near 60 right now. We were locked into the clouds a lot longer than expected today, and that stalled a warm front to our south, made it a little bit harder to warm up. A strong wind tomorrow should help us warm up more. We'll be in the mid to upper 70s for highs tomorrow, and for cloud cover, it's partly to mostly cloudy for your Saturday. Just a heads up, the growing season begins on March 23rd. This means beginning March 23rd, the National Weather Service will issue frost or freeze warnings and advisories if you are under that threat. So a heads up, we could start to get some of those advisories even by next weekend. We've got a low of 35 next Saturday morning. In the meantime, still very mild temperature-wise for the weekend. We cool down a bit behind Sunday's system, a high of 64 for St. Patrick's Day Monday, and a small chance for rain early in the day. Then we warm up for the middle of the week. There is a chance for rain as we get into Thursday. That storm system does not look quite as robust as what's on the way over this weekend. We'll have live reports on WRAL tonight with updates, and Brian Schrader will be in the live center as well, tracking some of the damage, unfortunately, that's likely as these storms continue to develop.
Yeah. Okay, Kat, thank you. It's hard to say which sport is more popular, college basketball or the office bracket pool. For a long time, those technically were not legal, and for a long time, people had some creative ways to get around that. We're going to take a look back after the break. We are just a few days from the NCAA tournament, and millions will fill out a bracket that's doomed to fail. For years, if you joined your office bracket pool, that would technically be illegal sports gambling. But not anymore.
Tonight, we dug up a story from the WRAL archive of the days when people tried all kinds of technicalities to get around these rules, from plausible deniability to cutting stuff right out of the newspaper.
Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Have a great weekend. We leave you now with your Friday moment of nostalgia.
March Madness boils down to brackets, and this is the art of bracketology.
Until the first game's played, I'm batting 1,000.
The popular sport called the office pool is an annual part of the game. But if you pay to play, you can bet it's illegal.
And that's gambling. And to bet on your record is punishable by up to 60 days in jail.
Assistant Lee County District Attorney Ed Page hasn't seen a case prosecuted, and management types don't really encourage them.
Does the Attorney General's office have an office pool running around?
Not to my knowledge.
But Attorney General Roy Cooper says a pool would have to be high dollar to get attention.
It's something that's pretty much accepted.
There is an office pool alternative, at least in Sanford. It still includes winning money, and it is a game of chance. It's right inside the Sanford Herald.
Well, we checked with legal counsel at the NC Press Association, and they gave us the ins and outs just to make sure that it was legal and we could go ahead and participate.
This is a contest with 499 other newspapers nationwide. The big winner wins $25 grand. If you're the local winner, like this guy was 2 years ago, you get $500.
With this, there's no cost.
It's legal because it's free. They don't even make you buy the paper.
What a magnificent block!
A better deal if your brackets are already busted. Kelsey Carlson, WRAL News, Sanford.